The most potent fears aren't conjured from thin air, they are excavated. They are dug up from the darkest, most unsettling chapters of human history, chapters that many wish to forget. Tonight, we leave the fictional world behind. We are pulling back the curtain on the real places, the real crimes, and the real government experiments that inspire the nightmares of gaming. These are the games that dare to build their horror on the truth. From the glamorous yet gruesome crime scenes of 1940s Los Angeles to the secret bunkers beneath Moscow, and the terrifying mind control programs of the Cold War. This is a definitive deep dive into the true stories behind 5 of your favorite horror games. We begin with a game that disguises its horror beneath a veneer of post-war glamour, LA Noire. This game is an interactive crime procedural, but its true horror lies in the fact that many of the cases solved by Detective Cole are direct adaptations of the most gruesome unsolved crimes of 1947 Los Angeles. The fictional world of this game is not based on imagination, it's based on the police files and newspaper clippings of a city's drowning in post-war violence. The most infamous case, which anchors the game's entire tone, is the brutal murder of Elizabeth Short, better known as the Black Dahlia. On January 15, 1947, Short's body was discovered in a vacant lot. She had been severely mutilated, drained of her blood, and her body had been bisected at the waist. The level of surgical precision and brutality captured the city's attention and shocked the nation. The Black Dahlia's case remains one of LA's most enduring unsolved mysteries. In the game, the developers took key elements from this and other crimes, the surgical precision, the dumping of the body, the sensational media coverage, and wove them directly into the fictional murder cases. The terror is the reality of the crime itself. Furthermore, the game's corruption storyline is based on a fact. In the 1940s, the Los Angeles Police Department was notoriously corrupt. Organized crime flourished, fueled by the illegal gambling and narcotic empires that the game depicts. The moral decay within the police force and the city's administration is not a fictional plot device, it's a historical record. The game focuses on the police and the political corruption mirrored the real-life struggles against figures like mob boss Mickey Cohan. LA Noire is a true crime simulator that exposes the gruesome systematic horrors lurking just beneath the glamorous surface of the American dream. If LA Noire exposes institutionalized crime, Outlast reveals the chilling terror of government-sponsored psychological experimentation. The fictional Mount Massive Asylum is a thinly veiled echo of Project MK-Ultra, a top-secret illegal CIA program run during the height of the Cold War. The CIA's purpose for MK-Ultra was to find a reliable method of mind control, interrogation, and psychological manipulation. The agency believed that the Soviet Union and China had mastered brainwashing, and they were determined to catch up at any human cost. The methods used are the basis for every monster in Outlast. Researchers administered high doses of psychiatric drugs, especially LSD, to unwitting test subjects. They employed sensory deprivation, extreme electroshock, and hypnosis in combination to induce psychosis, amnesia, and a complete break from reality. The character of Dr. Winklenickel in the game, the mastermind of Mount Massive Asylum, mirrors a real-life chief chemist of MKUltra, Sidney Gottlieb. The sheer depravity and scope of the program were astounding. In Canada, psychiatrist Owen Cameron performed torturous depatterning experiments on patients, administering massive electroshocks, drug cocktails, deliberately inducing amnesia, and disabling many victims. When the project was finally exposed in the 1970s, the CIA's director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of almost all program records, cementing the paranoia and conspiracy at the core of Outlast. The game's true horror isn't the jump scare. It's the fact that Mount Massive Asylum is a fictional place where things that actually happened are considered plausible. Shifting gears from modern horror to the end of a forgotten era, we look at Red Dead Redemption 2. This game is a haunting portrait of a true historical process, the ruthless industrialization that erased the American frontier. The core conflict isn't just a simple outlaw story. It's a detailed recreation of a historical moment, the systemic closure of the American West between 1890 and 1914. The game shows us the transition from lawlessness to federal control, and the tragedy of those caught in between. The antagonists, especially Pinkerton National Detective Agency, are pulled directly from history. In the late 19th century, the Pinkertons were essentially a private army. Their historical role wasn't just catching bandits. They were notorious for crushing labor unions and eliminating anyone who stood against the march of capital. Arthur Morgan and his gang are the last symbols of individual freedom, being systematically devoured by corporate interests and federal power. Furthermore, the game doesn't shy away from the darker history. Certainly, the displacement and near genocide of Native American tribes. The character of Rain's Fall and his son are a vital, tragic commentary on the broken treaties and the destruction of indigenous culture at the hands of the U.S. Army. RDR2 is a playable history lesson on how the myth of the rugged cowboy was destroyed by the cold, hard reality of the 20th century. It explores profound themes of disease, poverty, and the inescapable nature of progress. But as the physical frontier was closed and tamed, a new, more dangerous frontier was opening: the frontier of ideas. The Art Deco nightmare of Rapture and Bioshock might seem like a pulp fantasy, but is built upon the very real and dangerous consequences of an ideal ideological vision. Rapture's founder, Angie Ryan, is a thinly veiled stand-in for the 20th century philosopher and novelist Ayn Rand. Her philosophy, objectivism, formed the entire foundation of the city. Objectivism champions radical self-interest and rejects altruism, government control, and collective responsibility. Ryan explicitly states he created Rapture to be a place where the great would not be constrained by the small. The horror in Bioshock begins when Ryan's radical libertarian utopia fails. The complete absence of regulation, law, and mortality led directly to scientific and ethical chaos, resulting in the creation of Adam, a substance that fueled both Rapture's power and its destruction. The game vividly demonstrates how an unchecked meteorocracy devolves into a desperate, violent case system. It is a profound interactive critique of the real-world dangers of an extreme free market, madness, and the terrifying fragility of a society built on the complete absence of human compassion. For our final file, we step away from political conflict and everything we covered, and into the terrifying reality of global pandemic and biological horror. The Last of Us achieves its powerful fear by basing its fictional infection on a very real biological threat. The fictional fungus that creates the infected is directly inspired by a real-life parasitic fungus called. In nature, this parasite invades an insect's brain, takes over its nervous system, and forces the host to move to a location perfect for spreading spores. The game's premise asks a chilling, simple question: what if this fungus evolved to infect and control humans? It transforms the fictional plague from a zombie trope into a terrifyingly plausible biological event, tapping into our deepest fears about losing control of our own bodies. Furthermore, The Last of Us captures the true social horror of a post-pandemic world. It vividly explores the breakdown of law and scarcity of resources and the rise of military quarantine zones. Real-world tactics used in historical pandemics like the plague or smallpox outbreaks. By forcing the player to fight not just the fungus, but the desperate, brutal survivors, the game shows that the greatest danger after historical catastrophe isn't always the disease itself, but the resulting collapse of human ethics. Alright guys, I really do hope y'all enjoy this video. I've been gone for so long and I really do apologize. Just been sick, holidays are coming up, hanging out with family. Um, just confidence hasn't really been there, the flame. Um, but yeah, I'm coming back. Sorry for the long intro. I'll see y'all.